Listen carefully. Your life does not change when the world changes. Your life changes when your mind changes. Every result you see today, your income, your discipline, your confidence, your peace, it all started as a thought repeated long enough to become a belief. Most people try to control outcomes. That is the wrong target. Outcomes follow thoughts. Thoughts follow focus. When you control your mind, you control your focus. When you control your focus, you control your actions. When you control your actions, you control your world. This audiobook will train you to take command of the only system that decides everything, your mind. Chapter 1. Your mind is the control room. Your life does not start with action. Your life starts with thought. Before you move your body, your mind gives a command. Before you speak, your mind forms the sentence. Before you take a risk or avoid it, your mind sends the instruction. Your mind is the control room. Every decision, every habit, every reaction begins there. Most people never realize this. They spend years trying to change their circumstances. They try to change jobs, cities, relationships, opportunities, yet the control system remains untouched. The same mind creates the same outcomes. You must understand this clearly. Nothing changes until the command changes. And here is the problem. Most people never take control of their command center. They allow random thoughts to walk in and press the buttons. Fear walks in. Doubt walks in. Comparison walks in. And suddenly the entire system begins producing hesitation, delay, and weakness. You have a choice. You can guard the control room, or you can let chaos run it. Guard the control room. Think about how most people begin their day. They wake up and immediately absorb noise. Notifications, opinions, social media, news. Before they even think for themselves, other voices are already programming their thoughts. Then they wonder why they feel distracted, anxious, and unfocused. The control room was never protected. You have a choice. You can allow outside noise to control your internal commands, or you can decide what enters your mind. Decide, commit, repeat. Let me show you something simple but powerful. Imagine two people standing in front of the exact same opportunity, same job offer, same project, same challenge. One person thinks, "This could change my life. I will learn as I go. I will figure it out." The second person thinks, "I am not ready. What if I fail? What will people think?" Same opportunity, same environment, different command. The first mind sends a signal of growth. The body moves forward. Skills develop through action. The second mind sends a signal of fear. The body freezes. The opportunity disappears. Nothing magical happened. The command changed the outcome. This happens every day in small moments. A difficult conversation appears. One mind says, "Speak clearly." The other says, "Avoid it." A new idea appears. One mind says, "Try it." The other says, "Wait." A problem appears. One mind searches for solutions. The other searches for excuses. Your life follows these commands. You must start watching the instructions you give yourself, because what you think becomes what you see. Say that again in your mind. What you think becomes what you see. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It constantly scans the world to confirm your dominant thoughts. If your dominant thought is opportunity, your brain searches for opportunity. If your dominant thought is limitation, your brain searches for reasons to stay small. The mind obeys repetition. What you repeat becomes what you believe. If you repeat doubt every day, doubt becomes your identity. If you repeat strength every day, strength becomes your standard. You have a choice. This is where discipline begins. Not in the gym, not in business, not in relationships. Discipline begins inside the control room. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion says react. Discipline says pause and choose the command. Emotion says panic. Discipline says think. Emotion says quit. Discipline says continue. You are training your mind to become a commander instead of a reactor. Most people react to life. You will command it. Start with a simple practice. Watch your thoughts like a security guard watching the entrance to a building. When a weak thought appears, question it immediately. I cannot do this. Stop. Who gave that command? Challenge it. Replace it. I will learn how to do this. Guard the control room. Another thought appears. This will probably fail. Stop. Replace it. I will improve through action. You don't need their permission. You do not need permission from fear. You do not need permission from doubt. You do not need permission from the past. Your mind is your territory, and the pattern ends with you. For years, you may have inherited beliefs from family, society, or past failures. But today, you recognize the truth. You are the operator. The command is yours. Control the command, control the outcome. Remember this pattern. What you think becomes what you see. What you repeat becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes how you act. How you act becomes your life. Control the command, control the outcome. Decide, commit, repeat. When you master the control room, you stop living by accident. You begin living by design. But controlling the mind requires another skill. You must stop feeding the thoughts that weaken you. Because a mind that consumes doubt will produce hesitation, and hesitation destroys momentum. You now understand the command center. Now it is time to protect it. Chapter 2. Stop feeding weak thoughts. Your mind becomes whatever you feed it. Not sometimes, every time. Every thought you repeat feeds a mental pattern. Every mental pattern builds your identity. Every identity shapes your actions. This is why some people move forward while others stay stuck for years. It is not about talent. It is not about intelligence. It is not about intelligence. It is about mental diet. Most people feed their minds weakness every day. They replay failure. They rehearse fear. They imagine rejection before action even begins. Then they wonder why they hesitate. Weak thoughts create weak behavior. Strong thoughts create strong action. You have a choice. Feed the thoughts that build you, or feed the thoughts that slowly destroy your confidence. And here is the truth most people ignore. Your brain does not question repetition. If you say something often enough, the brain accepts it as instruction. A person who says, "I am not ready," every day begins to believe it. The brain stops looking for opportunity because the command has already been decided. Another person repeats, "I will figure it out." Different command, different behavior. That person moves first. Skill develops later. This is why discipline beats emotion. Emotion tells you how you feel in the moment. Discipline tells you what you repeat regardless of feeling. You wake up tired. Emotion says delay. Discipline says move. You face uncertainty. Emotion says avoid. Discipline says act. You have a choice. Let me give you a real pattern that destroys progress. A person has an idea, something small but promising, maybe a business, maybe a project, maybe a career move. The idea appears. Then the weak thoughts begin. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I am not good enough? These thoughts repeat quietly for days, then weeks, then months. Eventually the idea disappears. Nothing external killed the opportunity. The mind did. Weak thoughts slowly starved the action. Guard the control room. You must learn to recognize weak thoughts immediately. They often appear in predictable forms. Excuses disguised as logic. Delay disguised as preparation. Fear disguised as caution. The moment you hear these signals, interrupt them. You have a choice. A weak thought enters. I am not ready. Stop the pattern. Replace it immediately. I will improve through action. Another thought appears. This is too difficult. Stop. Replace it. This challenge will train me. Decide, commit, repeat. At first this feels unnatural. Your brain has practiced weakness for years. It will try to return to old patterns. That is normal, but the pattern ends with you. Each time you replace a weak thought with a strong command, you strengthen a new mental pathway. Slowly the brain begins to change its default response. Fear appears less often. Action appears more often. This is mental training. It is not about eliminating negative thoughts completely. That is impossible. The goal is speed. Catch them faster. Replace them faster. Weak thoughts lose power when they are interrupted quickly. Let me show you another common trap. Comparison. The person opens social media. They see someone else succeeding. Instantly, the mind produces weak thoughts. They are ahead of me. I started too late. I cannot compete with that. The brain begins feeding insecurity. Then action stops. You have a choice. Replace comparison with focus. Focus on your next action. Focus on your next improvement. Focus on your next step. Your mind should work for you, not against you. And remember this clearly. You don't need their permission. You do not need approval to move forward. You do not need validation to start improving your life. Waiting for approval is another weak thought. Discipline replaces it with action. Start small. When you wake up tomorrow, watch your thoughts closely. The first negative thought appears. Catch it. Replace it. Repeat this process all day. It sounds simple, but simple disciplines create powerful results, because every replacement thought strengthens the control room. Weak thoughts lose their authority. Strong thoughts become your default language. Soon something important happens. You begin acting faster. You hesitate less. You trust your decisions more. This is what happens when the mind stops feeding weakness. Your life begins moving forward. Because it was never about luck. It was always about what you repeated inside your mind. Starve the thoughts that weaken you. Feed the thoughts that move you. Guard the control room. But there is another level to this training. Even strong thoughts cannot work without direction. Your mind needs a target, and that target is focus. Chapter 3. Focus is your greatest power. Your mind moves toward whatever it sees most. That is how the brain works. It searches for patterns that match your focus. It filters the world based on what you repeatedly look for. Focus on problems, the brain finds more problems. Focus on opportunity, the brain finds solutions. Focus decides direction. Direction decides destiny. Most people lose their power because their attention is scattered. Their mind jumps from one distraction to another. Notifications, opinions, endless scrolling, constant noise. The brain never stays in one direction long enough to build momentum. And without momentum, nothing meaningful grows. You have a choice. Direct your focus with discipline, or let distraction decide your future. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion wants novelty. Emotion wants stimulation. Emotion wants something new every few seconds. But success does not reward scattered attention. Success rewards sustained focus. Think about any high performer. Athletes, entrepreneurs, writers, engineers. They all share one trait. They stay focused longer than the average person. While others jump between tasks, they stay locked into one objective. While others complain about obstacles, they search for solutions. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is focus. Focus is mental energy aimed in one direction, and when that energy stays locked long enough, progress becomes inevitable. Let me show you how powerful this is. Imagine two individuals starting the same project. Both have equal skill. Both have equal opportunity. The first person works for 10 minutes, then checks their phone, then switches tasks, then watches something online. Their attention keeps breaking. The second person locks their focus for 1 hour. No distractions, no interruptions. 1 hour of deep focus produces more progress than an entire day of scattered effort. Decide, commit, repeat. You must train your focus like a weapon, because what you focus on becomes your mental reality. If you focus on criticism, your mind becomes defensive. If you focus on progress, your mind becomes creative. If you focus on fear, your mind becomes cautious. If you focus on solutions, your mind becomes strategic. Focus decides the quality of your thinking. You have a choice. Many people focus on everything that goes wrong in their life. Traffic, delays, mistakes, rejections. The brain becomes trained to expect problems. Soon the person believes life is unfair, but another person chooses a different focus. They look for progress. They track improvement. They notice small wins. They analyze what works. The same world exists around both people. Different focus creates different experience. What you think becomes what you see. Your mind searches for evidence that supports your dominant focus. That is why focus must be intentional. Guard the control room. Here is a simple exercise. Each morning, decide what deserves your attention that day. Not everything deserves your focus. Some things deserve to be ignored. Distractions appear constantly. Notifications, gossip, negative opinions. You don't need their permission to ignore them. Your focus is valuable. Protect it. When you sit down to work, eliminate noise. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Close distractions. Clear the environment. Then give your full attention to one task, not 10 tasks. 1. Stay with it until progress happens. At first, the mind will resist. It will search for stimulation. That is normal. Bring your focus back, again and again. This is mental training. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion wants comfort. Discipline creates results. The longer you hold focus, the stronger your mind becomes. Soon you will notice something powerful. Problems become easier to solve. Ideas become clearer. Decisions become faster. Because a focused mind sees what a distracted mind misses. Weak focus creates confusion. Strong focus creates clarity, and clarity creates action. The pattern ends with you. You are no longer a victim of distraction. You are the commander of attention. Control your focus, control your mind, control your mind, control your world. But focus alone is not enough. You must also build the ability to act consistently. Because many people know what to focus on, yet they still fail to execute. Why? Because they rely on motivation, and motivation disappears. What you need is stronger than motivation. You need discipline. Chapter 4. Discipline beats motivation. Motivation feels powerful. But motivation is unreliable. It appears for a moment, then it disappears. Many people build their entire life around waiting for motivation. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel inspired. While they wait, time moves. Results never arrive. You must understand this clearly. Motivation starts action. Discipline sustains action. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion changes every day. Some mornings you wake up energized. Other mornings you feel tired, distracted, or uncertain. If your actions depend on emotion, your progress becomes unstable. But discipline removes that problem. Discipline does not ask how you feel. Discipline asks one question: what must be done? Then it gives the command: move. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think discipline means extreme willpower or harsh routines. That is not the truth. Discipline means obeying your own decisions. You decide a direction. You commit to it. Then you repeat the behavior until it becomes automatic. Decide, commit, repeat. Let me show you a simple example. A writer wants to finish a book. Motivation says write when you feel inspired. Sometimes the writer feels excited. Words flow easily. A few pages appear, then motivation disappears. Days pass. Weeks pass. The book never finishes. Now look at the disciplined writer. They write every day. Some days the words feel strong, some days the writing feels average. But the pages accumulate. Months later, the book exists. Same talent, different discipline. The result changes completely. You have a choice: wait for emotion or train discipline. Discipline is not dramatic. It is quiet and consistent. Wake up. Do the work. Study. Improve. Move forward even when progress feels slow. This pattern builds unstoppable momentum. Another example appears in physical training. A person wants to become stronger. Motivation says exercise when you feel energized. The person trains 3 times in 1 week. Then motivation fades. The routine disappears. But discipline follows a different rule. The workout happens at the same time every week. The person shows up whether they feel excited or tired. Progress appears gradually. Muscle grows. Strength increases. Confidence rises. The difference is not genetics. The difference is repetition. Decide, commit, repeat. Discipline is simply repeated, obedience to your own plan. Guard the control room. Weak thoughts will try to interrupt this process. I will start tomorrow. This is too difficult. I deserve a break. These thoughts appear whenever discipline begins working. They are distractions disguised as comfort. You must recognize them immediately. Discipline beats emotion. When the mind says delay, discipline says begin. When the mind says quit, discipline says continue. When the mind searches for excuses, discipline returns to the plan. You have a choice. Think each time you follow discipline instead of emotion. Your mind learns something important. It learns that your commands are serious. Soon hesitation disappears faster. Your brain begins expecting action instead of delay. The pattern ends with you. For years you may have followed emotion, starting projects with excitement, then abandoning them when the excitement faded. But now you understand the rule. Results follow discipline. It is not about motivation. It is about structure. Create routines that remove decision-making. Decide your work hours. Decide your training time. Decide your learning schedule. Then follow the plan. You don't need their permission. You do not need applause to stay consistent. You do not need approval to improve your life. The quiet repetition of discipline is enough. Small actions repeated daily create powerful transformation. 1 hour of focused work every day becomes hundreds of hours in a year. A small improvement repeated daily becomes massive growth over time. That is the real power of discipline. Not intensity, consistency. The person who shows up daily will always defeat the person who waits for motivation. Control your actions. Control your habits. Control your results. But discipline requires something deeper. Your mind must believe in what you repeat. Because repetition programs belief, and belief shapes identity. The next lesson will show you how repetition transforms the mind itself. Chapter 5. The power of repetition. Your mind believes what it hears the most, not what is true, not what is logical, what is repeated. Repetition is the programming language of the brain. Every thought you repeat writes a line of code into your identity. Repeat something long enough, the brain stops questioning it. It accepts the message as reality. This is why repetition builds success. It is also why repetition builds limitation. Most people repeat the wrong messages every day. I am bad with money. I am not disciplined. I never finish things. The brain listens. Then it begins shaping behavior to match the message. You have a choice. Repeat weakness or repeat strength. What you repeat becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes how you behave. Look at a simple example. A person constantly says they are not confident. They repeat it to friends. They repeat it in their thoughts. Soon their brain begins protecting that identity. They avoid challenges. They avoid attention. They avoid attention. The belief becomes self-proof. Now imagine a different pattern. A person repeats a different command. I figure things out. I improve through action. I finish what I start. At first, the brain resists, because repetition must happen many times before the system accepts the message. But with enough repetition, something powerful happens. The belief begins to feel natural. The mind stops arguing. Action becomes easier. Decide, commit, repeat. This principle exists everywhere. Athletes repeat movements thousands of times. The body memorizes the pattern. Musicians repeat scales until the fingers move automatically. Pilots repeat training procedures until reactions become immediate. Why? Because repetition creates certainty, and certainty produces confidence. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion wants variety. Emotion wants entertainment. But mastery demands repetition. The same action again and again until it becomes automatic. Your mind works exactly the same way. You must repeat the thoughts that build the identity you want. Guard the control room. Listen carefully to your internal dialogue. What sentences do you repeat most often? Those sentences are shaping your future. If you constantly repeat doubt, the brain will obey. If you constantly repeat commitment, the brain will obey. You have a choice. Change the script. This is not about empty positivity. It is about disciplined mental programming. When a difficult task appears, the average mind says, "This is too hard." The disciplined mind repeats something different. "I solve problems." That single repeated command changes behavior. The brain begins searching for solutions instead of escape. The pattern ends with you. Maybe you grew up hearing limiting messages. Maybe people around you repeated fear, caution, or negativity. Those messages may have shaped your early thinking, but they do not control your future. You now understand the mechanism. Repetition creates belief. Belief creates identity. Identity creates behavior. You don't need their permission. You do not need approval to change your internal language. You simply start repeating stronger commands. Here is a practical exercise. Choose 3 sentences that represent the person you want to become. Simple commands. I execute daily. I improve every week. I finish what I start. Repeat them every morning. Repeat them when doubt appears. Repeat them when work becomes difficult. At first, the words may feel mechanical. That is normal. Repetition is not about feeling powerful immediately. It is about installing new mental patterns. And over time, the pattern strengthens. Soon the brain begins acting according to the new identity. The person who repeats discipline begins behaving with discipline. The person who repeats persistence begins finishing tasks. Your internal language becomes your operating system. Control the language. Control the behavior. Decide, commit, repeat. The more often you repeat the right thoughts, the less space remains for weak ones. The mind becomes cleaner, clearer, more focused. But there is another challenge. Even strong thoughts can become weak if your environment constantly fills the mind with noise. Information overload weakens mental parity. Endless distractions break focus. If you want your repetition to work, you must remove the noise that interferes with it. Because a distracted mind cannot maintain strong programming. The next lesson is about protecting your mental environment. Chapter 6. Remove mental noise. Your mind cannot stay strong in a noisy environment. Noise destroys clarity. Noise weakens focus. Noise interrupts the commands you are trying to install in your mind. Most people never realize how much mental noise they consume every day. Constant notifications, endless scrolling, opinions from strangers, negative conversations, information without purpose. The brain never rests, and when the brain never rests, it cannot think clearly. Guard the control room. Every piece of information that enters your mind influences your thoughts. Every thought influences your decisions. Every decision shapes your life. You have a choice. Protect your mental environment or allow distractions to control your thinking. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion wants stimulation. Emotion wants something new every minute. The brain becomes addicted to novelty, but constant stimulation weakens mental strength. Think about how people spend their free time. They open their phones. They scroll for hours. They absorb random opinions, conflicts, and distractions. Their brain processes thousands of useless signals. Then they sit down to work or solve a problem. Their mind feels scattered. Focus disappears. Energy drops. The problem is not lack of intelligence. The problem is mental noise. A noisy mind cannot produce powerful thinking. A clear mind can. Look at people who operate at a high level. Leaders, creators, strategists, innovators. They protect their thinking time. They limit distractions. They choose what information enters their mind. They understand a simple rule: what enters your mind shapes your life. You have a choice. Every notification you allow is a small interruption. Every interruption breaks focus. And once focus breaks, the brain needs time to rebuild concentration. Multiply this by dozens of interruptions each day. The result is constant mental fragmentation. This is why many people feel busy but produce very little progress. Their attention keeps breaking. Decide, commit, repeat. Decide what deserves your attention. Commit to protecting that attention. Repeat the discipline daily. Start with simple actions. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Limit time spent consuming random information. Create quiet periods in your day where the mind can think without interruption. These moments of silence strengthen mental clarity. At first, the quiet may feel uncomfortable. Many people are not used to silence. The brain expects constant stimulation. But silence is where clear thinking begins. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion says check your phone again. Discipline says stay focused. Emotion says open another video. Discipline says return to the task. Guard the control room. Another major source of mental noise is negative conversation. Some people constantly complain. They repeat problems without searching for solutions. If you spend enough time around this energy, it enters your mind. Soon your thoughts begin reflecting the same negativity. You have a choice. You can participate in endless complaining, or you can protect your thinking. You don't need their permission to step away from conversations that weaken your focus. Your mental clarity is more important than social approval. The pattern ends with you. You begin choosing environments that support growth instead of distraction. Clear environments create clear thinking. Clear thinking creates powerful decisions, and powerful decisions move life forward. Let me give you a practical routine. Every day, create one period of deep focus. 30 minutes, 1 hour, maybe more. No notifications, no interruptions, no background noise. Just focus thinking or work. During this time, your mind begins rebuilding its natural strength. Ideas appear faster. Solutions become clearer, because the brain finally has space to think. You will notice something important. When noise decreases, awareness increases. You begin noticing your thoughts more clearly. You begin recognizing weak patterns faster. You become more intentional with your focus. Decide, commit, repeat. Remove the noise. Protect the control room. But removing noise is only one part of the process. A clear mind must also be trained. Just like the body becomes stronger through exercise, the mind becomes stronger through deliberate training. Focus must be practiced. Awareness must be practiced. Mental control must be practiced, because a strong mind does not appear by accident. It is built through consistent training. And that is the next step. Chapter 7. Train the mind like a muscle. A strong mind is built, not inherited. Just like the body grows stronger through exercise, the mind grows stronger through training. If you never train it, it becomes weak, reactive, and easily distracted. Most people train their bodies more than they train their thinking. They lift weights, they run, they stretch, but their mind receives no discipline. The result is predictable. A strong body with a weak mind still loses control under pressure. Guard the control room. Your mind needs training every day. Without training, emotion takes over. Fear becomes louder. Doubt becomes faster. But when the mind is trained, something powerful happens. You respond instead of reacting. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion wants comfort. Emotion wants easy answers. Emotion wants escape when things become difficult. But a trained mind stays steady. A trained mind pauses before reacting. A trained mind thinks before speaking. You have a choice. Train the mind, or allow circumstances to train it for you. Circumstances usually train the mind through stress, failure, and regret, but deliberate training builds strength before those moments arrive. Decide, commit, repeat. Let us start with the simplest form of mental training: attention control. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Focus on your breathing. Nothing complex. Just observe the breath entering and leaving your body. Within seconds, your mind will wander. Thoughts appear. Plans appear. Plans appear. Memories appear. This is normal. The exercise is not about stopping thoughts. The exercise is bringing attention back. Every time the mind drifts, you guide it back to the breath. This simple repetition strengthens focus. It teaches the mind to follow your command. Weak minds wander endlessly. Trained minds return to the target. You have a choice. Another powerful exercise is written reflection. At the end of each day, write down 3 things: what worked today, what did not work, what you will improve tomorrow. This practice forces the mind to analyze behavior. Instead of drifting through life, you begin learning from every experience. The mind becomes sharper. Decisions become smarter. The pattern ends with you. You stop repeating mistakes unconsciously. You become aware of your habits. Awareness creates control. Control creates change. Discipline beats emotion. Emotion says ignore mistakes. Discipline says study them. Emotion says avoid discomfort. Discipline says learn from it. Emotion wants immediate relief. Discipline wants long-term growth. A trained mind always chooses growth. Guard the control room. Another training method is mental rehearsal. High performers use this technique constantly. Before an important action, they imagine the process clearly. An athlete visualizes the performance. A speaker visualizes delivering a confident message. A leader visualizes solving a problem. The brain begins preparing for the action. When the real moment arrives, the mind already recognizes the situation. Confidence increases. You don't need their permission to practice this skill. Close your eyes for a moment before a challenge. Visualize yourself handling the situation with calm focus. See yourself making strong decisions. Repeat the rehearsal. Your brain begins believing the pattern. Decide, commit, repeat. Training the mind also requires controlled challenges. Avoiding difficulty weakens mental strength. Facing challenges builds resilience. Choose tasks that require effort. Difficult conversations, complex problems, new skills that push your comfort zone. Each challenge strengthens the mind. Each success reinforces your belief. Soon the brain begins expecting progress instead of fearing failure. This is how mental toughness develops. Not through motivation, through repeated training. Discipline beats emotion. You do the training whether you feel inspired or not, because you understand the long-term reward. A trained mind stays calm when pressure rises. A trained mind thinks clearly when others panic. A trained mind sees opportunity where others see obstacles. You have a choice. Most people never train their thinking. They react to life. You will command it. Your mind becomes stronger each day you practice awareness, focus, reflection, and controlled challenge. The pattern ends with you. You are no longer controlled by random thoughts or external chaos. You are building a mind that follows your direction. Control your mind. Control your actions. Control your world. But there is one final step. Training the mind creates strength. Repetition creates belief. Now you must lock those beliefs into your identity. Because when your identity changes, discipline becomes natural. And that is the final lesson. You now know the truth most people never learn. Your life is not controlled by luck, talent, or circumstances. It is controlled by the thoughts you allow to live inside your mind. Every belief you repeat becomes a command. Every command becomes an action. Every action becomes a result. If you want a different world, you must build a different mind. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop negotiating with weak thoughts. Start directing your focus with intention. Guard the thoughts that enter your control room. Repeat the beliefs that strengthen you. Execute the actions that move your life forward. Control your mind. Control your focus. Control your actions. Control your world. Now here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, watch every thought that enters your mind. Replace every weak thought with the command thought. Move, act, decide. Do this daily, and you will notice something powerful. Your mind begins to obey you. And when your mind obeys you, nothing in your world stays the same.